Did you know you can manipulate a small space to seem larger? Well, if you live in a small space, just like me, you might want to learn a few tips on how to make that space seem larger. It could be a bed-sitter, it could be a one-bedroom, it could be a studio, it could even be a particular room in your house that might be looking a little too small. Well, in this video, I'll be giving you 10 interior design tips that will allow us to trick the eye into making that particular room or space seem larger than it actually is. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Faazati Ali and I'm an interior designer who's always giving the best tips on how to make your space look amazing. I also do DIYs and give you guys the most affordable ideas on how to create your own home decor pieces. I also paint, so do feel free to hit that subscribe button. I do upload videos every single week. So do join the family, and yeah, let's get straight into today's video. The first tip you're going to consider when you're trying to make your small space seem larger is actually the color of the space. As I told you guys in a previous video on color selection, color is one of the most important aspects to consider when it comes to interiors and design and all that. If you haven't watched that video, I will link it in the description below, so do check it out. So colors, when it comes to a small space guys, you want to definitely go for bright colors and neutral color tones because these colors make a space feel brighter, and whites or neutral colors on the wall always bounce and reflect light, so the space actually looks airy and bigger than it actually is. If you use dark colors in a small space, you can be rest assured the space is going to seem much smaller and very crumpled and quite uncomfortable at the same time. So I would advise you to go for mostly a color like white. White is definitely one of the best colors when it comes to small spaces. It will allow you to actually make the space feel wider, more open, and quite larger. Dark colors on the other hand tend to absorb light, so these colors would actually make a room seem smaller. So you can imagine using dark colors in a smaller room. The room is definitely going to look tinier, crumpled, and even a little bit uncomfortable. If you want to make your space seem larger, go for bright light colors, and the best option would probably be white. This would immediately open up the room, make it feel more airy, and definitely make it look larger. So the first thing to consider is your color palette, and bright colors are definitely the best. The next tip you want to consider when trying to make your room look larger is the use of mirrors. And this is quite interesting because mirrors are reflective, so they do create an illusion of space. And you want to do this by adding a mirror. You can put it against the wall. Next to a window would also be best, as it will be able to reflect the light and therefore making the room seem even brighter. You can also have mirrors leaning on the wall. You can have them on your wardrobe doors, mostly when it comes to sliding wardrobes. You can also have mirrors on your furniture, that is such as drawer chests, and this all reflecting surfaces will make the room seem larger. Mirrors tend to give an illusion of space that is continuous. So when you get into that particular space, your eyes will actually be tricked to think that the space is continuous. So mirrors are quite an effective way of making a space look a lot bigger than it actually is. The next step you want to consider when trying to make a small space seem larger is the use of multifunctional furniture. And this is effective in maximizing the use of a space because in a small space you want to try as much as possible to avoid having several different pieces of furniture. This is because it will make the space look cramped and even smaller than it actually is. So you want to make sure you're going for something like a bed that has a storage space underneath and such like furniture. This will definitely allow you to be able to still have everything you need, but at the end of the day saving so much on your space. Multifunctional furniture is definitely a very effective way in making use of your space and definitely keeping the space looking larger, because you will be able to have everything that you need without having an excessive amount of furniture in that particular room. The next tip is still on furniture, and here you want to try and make sure that you are going for transparent furniture pieces. These are quite effective in maximizing space use because they do not block sight and therefore your eyes are able to see right through them. This, at the end of the day, tricks your mind into thinking the space is much larger than it actually is, because you would actually not be sure if there's an object there or not. Want to go for light materials and transparent furniture pieces, including chairs, tables, and so many others that will help you effectively make your space seem larger. Another trick you can use to make your space look larger is actually on the curtains. Now, there's a mistake that a lot of people make, and that is putting your curtain rod right above your windows. You want to make sure you're putting your curtain rods a little higher, close to the ceiling. This will allow your eyes to move upwards when you walk into that particular space, making the walls seem higher and the ceiling much higher, and this will make the room feel more spacious and larger. You also want to avoid using short curtains, because short curtains, they just do not look good and would never make a room feel big. But when you go for longer curtains, you're definitely going to achieve the particular effect of making a space seem larger than it actually is. So guys, you want to make sure when you're doing your curtains or blinds, do put the rod near the ceiling. The next tip you want to consider when trying to make a small space seem larger is the use of furniture with legs. And what we're going to be talking about here mostly is more sofa sets. And this is because when you have a sofa that has legs, your eyes are able to see the space underneath and visually make you think that the space is quite bigger than it actually is. You want to avoid, by all means, sofas that sit directly on the floor, as these ones create visual heaviness and make a small space feel more cramped and smaller. So you definitely want to go for furniture and sofas with legs, as this will create visual space in your mind and eventually make a room look way more spacious. Now the next tip is actually quite obvious, and this is to declutter your space. If you have a small space, you want to make sure you do not have all sorts of different items lying around everywhere, because this is definitely going to make the room seem smaller. It will probably be blocking your way on this part or your traffic around the room. So definitely make sure you get rid of any items you don't need, throw things you don't need away or give them away, but do not fill your space with things that are not necessary. Doing this will help you to keep a neat and clean room, clearly indicating the clean lines in the space and allowing you to make your space seem larger and definitely more comfortable. The next tip you want to consider is the use of striped rugs. Just like striped clothes that make us look a little bit taller, striped rugs do make a room look larger. And this is because lines tend to be continuous, so they do trick your mind to think that the space actually looks larger than it actually is. At the end of the day, striped rugs always look nice, classy and elegant, so they will eventually make your space look bigger and at the same time beautiful. The next tip you want to consider when trying to make a small space look larger is the use of paintings. These are used to create focal points in a space, and when you put a large painting on a wall, it actually makes a wall look larger. The person who looks at it is going to be thinking, oh, this painting is large, it fits on this wall, then this wall must be quite large. You want to avoid using small paintings. Also, you want to avoid using several small pictures or paintings, because this will make the wall feel a little too cramped. Go for one large painting, and this will definitely do the trick in making the space look larger. The last tip I'll be giving you on how to make your space look larger is the use of dividers/partitions. And these ones I really love because the modern dividers look amazing. They definitely end up enhancing how the space looks and make it look really beautiful. At the end of the day, when somebody walks into this particular space, they're going to be thinking, oh, you have a sleeping area, you have a sitting area, so I guess the space is actually big. But is it? It really isn't, but since you have divided it, it actually looks more spacious. So you might want to consider this. I personally would, except I'd really need to say first. Anyway guys, I hope you can consider this particular idea because it's going to make your room look really beautiful and really spacious at the same time. So we have come to the end of this video. Those were some of the tips on how to make a small space seem larger. If you have more tips, do leave them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and of course subscribe and share. I will be super grateful. So yeah guys, I think that's the end of the video. See you guys next week, inshallah. Love you guys so much. And oh, do check my previous video in the description below. And yes, bye bye.